To talk, we have to breathe through our mouths as well. So we use the same opening for talking, eating, drinking, and breathing.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Usually this works out fine, but sometimes things go down the wrong way. Sometimes with tragic results. Normally when we swallow, a flap of cartilage covers the windpipe, so the food goes straight down to the stomach. But with our larynx now in its lower position, just occasionally food falls in and down the windpipe, where it blocks the airway to the lungs, making us choke. Every year in Britain alone, around 200 people choke to death. Talking has been so critical to our evolution that it's even worth risking death for.
Oh, that's better.
You alright?
You eat too many too fast.
At this point in our journey, it had been 4 million years since we'd split from the apes. What happened to us during that time? Biological evolution, that is, the physical changes to our bodies, had worked some slow but crucial changes in us. First, around 4 to 5 million years ago, we stood up on 2 legs and walked. Then it was another 3 million years before we started getting clever with our hands. It wasn't until over 1 million years later that our brains got as big as they are today. And for all this time, our only form of conversation was probably just grunting. It wasn't until very recently along life's journey, around 200,000 years ago, that our larynx began to drop, which gave us the power of real language. Now that we could talk, our cultural evolution could take off too. Cultural evolution was a brand new trend. It isn't based on genes like biological evolution. It's about the sharing of ideas. Talking allowed knowledge to be passed around quickly. It was one of the greatest revolutions in the journey of life that set us on the path to world dominance. But perhaps the greatest drama in the story of the human race was yet to come. 75,000 years ago, when modern talking humans were thriving here in Africa, disaster struck. On the other side of the world, in Sumatra, a volcano called Toba erupted. It blasted vast clouds of ash and sulfur dioxide right across the planet, blocking out the sun. It triggered a 6-year global winter, which blighted the entire world. In Africa, over 6,000 kilometers away, drought and famine followed. Millions of animals died, the animals we humans depended on for meat. Those early Homo sapiens must have been decimated too. Because of one freak act of nature, our ancestors nearly became extinct. DNA evidence suggests that perhaps as few as 1,000 people were left. which could mean that all 6 billion of us alive on Earth today are descended from those 1,000 survivors in Africa. How did we survive? Scientists now believe what really may have saved us from extinction was working together, sharing information. To get some idea of what life must have been like after Toba blew its top, you can go to the Kalahari Desert today. It's one of the harshest places anywhere in the world. But even here, there is water and food if you know where to look. The Zhuang people of northern Namibia are mainly hunter-gatherers. How do they cope with living in such heat and drought? Most importantly, they never remain isolated as a single band for long. They regularly walk for 2 to 3 days across the desert to visit different family groups. It may have been months since they last saw each other. Once here, the highlight of the visit is swapping gifts. They do it not only to cement the bonds of friendship, but also to secure cooperation and the sharing of ideas. And out here, what your neighbors tell you could well save your life. They may know where the best water sources are, or good fruiting trees, or new hunting grounds. And of course they can tell you the gossip. Without this regular exchange of knowledge, different villages would become isolated, and without outside help, even die out. It's now thought it was our ability to talk and help each other in a hostile world that saved us from extinction after Toba erupted. It's encouraging to think that the very existence of the human race owes more to cooperation than to conflict. Gradually, the world recovered, and small bands of pioneering humans started to leave Africa and travel to the far corners of the earth. By now, we humans weren't just talking and sharing ideas. We were working together as never before, and cultural evolution was going on all around the globe. Although telling other people what you know through speech is still vital to man today, there's only so much knowledge any individual can store in the memory.
I don't know whether there's one up there.
Another road.
So it's not by the Lecky up by that way, is it? Oh yeah, down there, yeah.
See that red building?
And no one person can know everything.
Excuse me, mate. Could you tell me the way to the library, please?
Yeah, go round here, up the top of Park Street, round the triangle, up on the
If someone dies without passing on their ideas and culture, those ideas are lost forever. Unless, of course, they've been written down. the answer was for us to start preserving our ideas and knowledge in books. Cultural evolution could now accelerate further. Writing meant successive generations could build on what had gone before. No one could remember how to make a space rocket, but once it's written down, that information is accessible to many others. For 2,500 years, we saved our precious culture in our books. But the amount of knowledge accessible through a computer adds up to all the books in all the libraries in all the world. In the age of the internet, anyone, anywhere can tap into this vast central fund. Back in the forest reserve in Cameroon, Dieudonné can search the web and get hold of the same information as anyone at a computer anywhere else on Earth. And it's fast. A picture can be sent halfway around the world in seconds. Never before have ideas spread so widely so quickly, whether for business, education, or purely for pleasure. Computers are now the core of modern culture. But without writing and without this power to store knowledge, where would we be? The answer is here, still in the Stone Age. If you could use a time machine to bring a Stone Age baby forward from 35,000 years ago and educate it here in our modern world, it could do anything. Become an airline pilot, doctor, even president. By the Stone Age, people were just as intelligent as us. And if a 21st century baby was sent back 35,000 years, it would be no more advanced than the people who lived then. Strip away our technology, and underneath we're all still cavemen. That's because our genes haven't changed since the Stone Age. Both babies would have the same genetic makeup. But just suppose both babies were unlucky and were born with a serious genetic disease. In the past, this baby would have died. His defective gene would not have been passed on. It was, after all, survival of the fittest. Today, though, modern medicine is so advanced that many of us can live on despite our problem genes. Whereas in the past, we wouldn't have survived. And that's affecting human evolution as a whole. Now, without the force of natural selection, those problem genes will become more and more widespread. Fortunately, though, our most important evolutionary strong point, our big brain, may have come up with a solution. Genetic engineering. In as little as 10 years from now, we may be able to alter our children's genes before they're born. We now know which genes are involved in some 5,000 illnesses. Scientists believe they'll soon be able to manipulate these genes in a fertilized embryo. So for the first time in our evolutionary history, our children and their children could be free of genetic illness and disease. And remember, cultural evolution works faster and faster and faster. Once scientists have the power to cure these illnesses, what else may they do with that knowledge in years to come? Imagine a world where the same technology could enhance our children's looks. Could we soon be ordering up designer babies?
So, the first thing to think about, have you thought about what kind of skin?
Could we choose the perfect features for our child?
Something a bit like that?
Every detail,
Does that look okay? All right.
from skin tone
Have you thought about the colour of the eyes?
Yes, my husband.
to eye colour.
Can we have blue?
And have you thought about to really see the features of?
No more nose jobs
Have you thought about the mouth, the shape?
and no more plastic surgery.
Yeah, quite full lips, I think.
Thought.
That's great.
Yeah, happy with that?
And what about their brain power?
Well, there she is. She looks like she's going to be a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
Our offspring could turn out much more intelligent than us, much younger. Child geniuses could soon become the norm.
Shape. Is there anything else?
The only other thing is intelligence.
Well,
Our children would be academically successful at a much earlier age. And make complex modern technology look like child's play. Some scientists even predict that by 2020, we'll be able to manipulate the genes that control aging. While we age normally over our 70 years, our children could reach 200 years and still keep their youthful good looks. We've come a long way from the chimps. Amazing, considering there's only that crucial 1% difference in our genes. Our journey of life has certainly been a rocky ride. Until now, our evolution was a game of chance. That we survived at all is something of a miracle. No one can really know for sure how much further away from chimps we'll go. The difference is that now, the choice is ours. So what might that space-age biologist find if he came back to Earth in the future? If he examined apes again, he might get quite a surprise. Before, he was comparing us humans with chimps. But if he now looked at the chimps and at the average unmodified person of today, then at the new super Homo sapiens of the future, he might well see a greater difference between a present-day human and the superhuman than he previously saw between the present-day human and the chimps. For the first time in the history of life, we can control our own evolution. Whether we choose to or not, we now have the knowledge and power to determine our biological future, our own journey of life.